Please listen carefully.
It's the Knock and Talk Show. What's up, everybody?
That was really weird.
Here we are again.
Yeah.
Who are we?
I don't even know where to go from here.
I don't
That was
know.
really weird.
You gotta change it up.
That was not what
I'm
we
trying
discussed.
to get record deals and shit here, okay?
Well, I think you need to work on it a little bit more.
We'll find the auto-tune button.
Well, I haven't gotten that good at editing, so...
Oh, we'll work on it.
I don't
Trust
know
me.
if you
I'm gonna do it
should
every
count on
time
me.
until I get on here sounding
Actually,
phenomenal.
quite frankly, I don't even edit our episodes, so I don't even edit other than add some music at the beginning and at the end, and even that is a feat within itself, so...
Well, you're gonna have to learn.
Oh, well, okay. Add it to my list of things that
There
I
you
have
go.
to do. So anyways, I completely lost my train of thought because that completely threw me off. Not what I was expecting at all. But so this is our first episode recording since we got back from vacation. So, I mean, cool, but how much does it suck to be back?
We almost didn't come back.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, we may have looked at employment
Well,
while we were down there.
well, yeah, but I also...
Not seriously,
Yeah.
but just curiosity.
Well, I'm sorry. So I was thinking of it differently. We kind of, I screwed up with our dates of being
yeah,
there.
no, yeah.
That's what I was thinking about to talk
we
about.
should actually start there. Go right ahead. Let's talk about this for a minute because it was heartbreaking.
It was really heartbreaking. So I don't even remember what date we left. Say it was like August.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, in my head, I kept telling everyone we were leaving on September 5th.
To come home.
To come home.
The return
September 5th, when my parents kept asking me, when in the hell can we return your dogs to your house? What day are you coming home? September 5th. That's the day. 100 times they asked me, September 5th, September 5th, September 5th, September 5th.
What'd you tell me every time I said?
September 5th, September 5th. And September 4th, because I wasn't really paying attention to the dates while we were there, for some reason, I woke up before you like I normally do. That's not a knock on you. I'm saying like I woke up before I was going to do my little workout videos.
Yeah, I do my workout videos later in the day. But,
And for some reason, I checked my email, which I have no idea why I checked it. And I saw an email from the lady from Airbnb. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why would she be emailing me?
Guess what, bitches?
And she sent
Time
this
to go.
really nice email and was like, oh, just wanted to remind you. It was, mind you, I'm sorry. The email was sent on September 3rd that evening. And it said, hi there. Just wanted to remind you of your checkout tomorrow, September 4th at 10 a.m. I hope you enjoyed your stay and hope everything was wonderful. Whatever she said. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, time to pack and go.
It was 8:20 after 8 at this point. And I'm like, oh, fuck. What are we going to do? So
we thought we still had a whole
day.
extra day.
A whole
nother
day.
An
We
entire day.
We had plans
We
for
had
that day.
serious plans. Shit was
And-
about to go down.
Yeah. And so then I promptly woke you up. And the look you gave me was like, you motherfucker. Like,
Well,
it was not good.
here was my concern. We get a condo at our vacation spot, but we're not going to tell you where because we don't want to see you when we go on vacation. That's the whole point of going. But so anyways,
Okay.
we get a condo and we like pack our whole life into this thing. I mean, there's food in the cupboards. There's the refrigerator's packed. There's
Booze
clothes
everywhere.
all over the place. You know what I mean? You kind of like move into this condo
Yeah.
for this day. So the fact that we had a couple of hours to be out.
It was ridiculous. And here's the thing too, is like, I'm a pretty organized person. So thinking we're leaving on September 5th, on the evening of September 4th, I would have cleaned up, packed some things up, gotten things ready. So it would have been a very easy.
Yeah, we did none of that.
No.
Because
it
we thought
was
we
a
still had a whole
mess.
nother day.
It was a mess.
One whole day.
Yeah, so that sucked. And it was a very abrupt end to the vacation.
It was, but what a good time.
It was a good time.
It's always good to get away and
Relax,
relax,
hang out.
drink in different spots. That's always good.
So we can't say where we went.
No, I mean we can. I was just messing
Oh.
with people.
So we went to Hilton Head.
South
People,
Carolina.
I wanted to talk about the sharks. Do you people know how many sharks are in the water at Hilton Head? Like, listen, we all know sharks are in the water.
In the ocean? Really?
Yeah, really. Okay, I'm not that much of an
This is
idiot.
your knock and talk education of the day. There
This
are
is my
sharks
epiphany.
in the
There's
ocean.
sharks in the water, people. PSA. Did
We'll see you
know?
next time.
Did you know? But seriously, I mean, I've gone to the ocean, #privilege or whatever. I've gone to the ocean a lot in my
But
life.
you, like me, growing up, I believe, were more on the golf side.
Correct. Went into like Siesta,
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
Tampa, like down that way. And never really went to the East Coast. Nothing against them. I think I went to like Myrtle as a kid a few
Right.
times, but I mean, I never watched Shark Week as a little kid. That didn't exist, I don't think.
So that's a whole nother issue in itself. If you watch Shark Week,
we do.
we do. Although this past year wasn't,
It sucked.
it was horrible.
It was
We ended up
terrible.
watching the National Geographic, I think,
Mm-hmm.
program more than like Discovery Shark Week. It was just kind of a joke. But anyways, if you watch that kind of shit and then you think you're gonna go on a hiatus to the ocean and dip in the water where you've just seen the mammoths that exist, no, it's not gonna happen.
Listen.
Not comfortably, anyways.
I have a rule. I don't get in water and I don't swim in water when I can't see what I'm swimming with. That's why I prefer the Gulf side, because yes, I realize that there are still sharks down there, but I can,
You can at least see what's gnawing on your leg.
what is
versus-
coming.
yeah.
Remember when we saw the manatee down there? Like it kind of looked like an unknown
We're
object
hoping
coming
that's what
towards
it was. Yeah. That's,
But like, you could see from a distance what something
Something.
is coming at you, whereas in that water, you don't
Forget
know.
about it.
You
Yeah,
can't see
nope.
anything. So
until it's too late.
yeah. So then the first day that we saw the sharks. Well, we saw a lot of sharks last year when we were there,
We did.
but that first day we were sitting there. It was already getting later. We're just sitting, hanging out on the beach. And what was it? Probably like 5, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
First off, rule number 1, when it starts to be dusk and it's about dinner time for humans, it's probably dinner time for the sharks. So get out of the fucking water, people.
Well, I think
Don't swim
that
in the
is like
water.
their prime time. You know what I mean?
But
We're gonna look
seriously,
at it.
there was like itty bitty little cute kids still swimming in the water. And we saw, and I know a lot of fishermen out there, and I
They're
don't know if
most
there's any.
active at dusk and dawn.
But we watch a lot of Shark Week. We're not just spitting, information
Shit,
out our
look.
ass here. So, but a lot of fishermen, you know how they'll be like, my fish I caught was so big. It was just the biggest fish I ever saw. I'm not exaggerating here, people. This was at least a 4-foot shark.
Yeah,
Now,
probably.
I don't know. Look, Google what I think people kept saying they were like sand sharks or something up there. I don't care if you're a freaking great white or a sand shark, you're still a shark. And this thing was what, 10 feet offshore? I mean, it was in like
To the point where when the
calf deep water.
yes, to the point to where in the water that like the waves settled,
You saw the whole
you
shark.
could see the entire thing.
Yeah, it was crazy. And like, so I thought I was being a good person, and we see this shark swimming.
The sharp-nosed shark.
Yeah, I mean, I can't obviously identify what it was, but it was a shark, very clearly.
Yeah, I don't care what kind it was. I'm out.
Well, we saw a couple then the next day, or maybe it was 2 days later, whatever it was, but we went down the beach, and I was telling people like, hey, I didn't like startle them.
Shark!
No, I didn't do that, but I went down there and I was like, hey, just to let you know, there's a shark in the water and it's kind of swimming your way. And they were like, oh, okay. I'm like, you gotta get out of the water?
Yeah, but
No,
apparently we were the only
they
ones
don't really care. So
that really cared about it. But yeah, apparently the Atlantic sharp-nose is very common for that area.
yeah, there was
And I
a
believe
lot.
we were told that there is another. The other thing is it safe to swim in Hilton Head? No.
There's a lot of sharks. We saw the first year last year when we went there. We're walking on the beach, and not like a romantic walk on the beach, because we power walk the beach in the morning. That is like exercise, people. Okay.
Power walk.
And So we're walking the beach, and all of a sudden we see something like flopping in the water, and it was like a baby shark flopping in the water right in like the super shallow water. And I'm like,
Well, the other thing we
Oh,
were a
hell
little
no.
concerned about is the fact that there's
they're jumping.
in the fishermen that were all along the shore, which is cool. I mean, it's cool to watch them. It's cool to see when they catch something. But it was all day, every day, and I'm pretty sure they may have been luring
Oh, for sure.
some of these,
The
jaws up
The
there.
big
with,
mama sharks were coming for their baby sharks.
well, yeah, I mean, there was a couple guys that were catching them, a foot long. I mean, you could tell they were baby sharks.
Yeah, but a baby shark can still bite off my big toe or something. Like, I don't know. Are you hungry?
Can't
Like,
have that.
no.
It's still gonna hurt no matter what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. So you just dip in to cool off and you
Get out.
hightail it out of there. Like,
Yep.
that's about it. So, but needless to say, other than that, Hilton Head is gorgeous. It is not what I always pictured it would be in my head. I always thought it was like very like uppity. Like,
No,
it's very relaxed. It's
Very
very
relaxed.
low key.
everybody that is there is super nice.
So nice.
And a lot of people from Ohio.
Oh yeah, it's like
Tons of people from Ohio.
very much like the second place for Ohio. I feel like a lot of people from Ohio go to Florida, obviously, but there's a lot of people from Ohio in Hilton Head. But very relaxed and a lot of good food in there. We ate a lot of shrimp. We ate our body weight in shrimp.
Seafood, but it was so good.
It was so
It
good.
was so good.
When we ate the peel shrimp at the second place, and you were like, "What was all that shit?" It was floating, and I was like, "Butter." It was floating in
Well, it was
butter.
that and that whatever. What's the famous seasoning they put
Old
on
Bay.
Old Bay? Yeah,
It was Old Bay and butter.
Yeah, it was very
lots of
good.
butter.
very good.
Well, yeah, anything in butter is gonna taste good.
Well, who am I to judge?
But it was good. It was much needed. It was just a little too short, and it ended
About a
little
day.
abruptly.
It was about a day short.
A little abruptly. And then in between, well, we thought we had an extra day, so we decided that we would take our extra day that we ended up not having, and we went to Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia, gorgeous town.
What a cool place.
Absolutely gorgeous. Tons of history, tons of culture. I mean, it is
Yeah, and we're not touristy
Amazing.
people.
not at all. We like
We-
to kind of get off the beaten path.
Just chill.
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna take a vacation, everyone's like, "You need to go sightseeing here. You need to go do this. You need to go do that." And we're like,
No.
let's go lay somewhere. Like, let's go chill out. I want a week of nothing. Just let me go be a bum. And we're kind of convinced, I guess, by multiple people.
Yeah, I mean, we heard a lot of good things, and obviously we did a little bit of our own research, and I mean, just some of the pictures and stuff we saw. It's like, well, why not go see it in person? And
But-
I'm glad we did. Look, it's one of those things that, yeah, we did it.
I would
You know
go
what I mean?
back though, like to that area and like stay like do one of our like long weekends.
So I
there.
think the big thing is obviously when we went through like a tour. It was a trolley tour through the city is what it was.
Old Town Trolley. Shout out.
Hey, send us coupons.
It was fun.
And it was cool because you got a little bit of history and stuff along with it. And, you're going into a foreign area like that. Because even we laughed and kind of joked that, man, we're going to get in there. We're not going to know where to park, where to go. We'd have spent half the time driving around trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
So it was nice to kind of be with them take you to the hot spots. And now we know if we go back, kind of what to expect.
Right.
We kind of have an idea of what's there, some of the hot spots to go to,
What we would be interested in.
what we would be into.
Not like what the fountain. Everyone was like, "Oh, you gotta go to the fountain."
Yeah. If you
And
guys
I was
ever-
like,
you ever seen a fountain?
do you? I was like, "Do you want to get off?" I forget what it was called. And if anyone's listening, they're like naming the fountain in their head, probably like, "Yeah, that's like the most famous fountain down there."
Hey,
And
it was cool.
And I was like, "Do you want to get off this stop and go look at this fountain?" And you just gave me this look, and you're like, "Yeah, sure." So we
Sure.
got off and made this loop around the fountain. I don't even think we stopped at the fountain. We just like
we blew
looked
right
at
past
it.
that thing.
We got right back on the trolley.
Everything that was around that fountain, though, as far as the farm that it used to be and what it was, and,
Oh,
and
it's beautiful.
that stuff is very cool.
The houses, I
learn
think, are
about.
the coolest part.
Gorgeous homes.
Yeah, they're really, really cool.
Gorgeous homes.
Couldn't afford to live down there, but
Stuff that
they're
just-
so pretty.
It looks like it's just a piece of history. It's hard to believe that people actually live the way they live down there. I mean, it's very cool. Very cool.
What was what's the full official name of the cathedral that we went to? Because I'm gonna botch this. Because
was it St. John?
Yeah, just type Savannah, Georgia, because I don't want to botch it. I'm gonna get yelled at. But this cathedral, the Cathedral Basilica of St. John the Baptist. Oh my gosh. And I guess being Catholic, like it meant more to go here, but what a cool place. Even if you're not Catholic, just to go in. I mean, you haven't been confirmed or
I have not been
anything.
confirmed. So I think the coolest thing about it, just like the rest of Savannah, is
the history
that comes with it. I mean, it was outside of being a church or anything. I mean, it was the most gorgeous building.
Yeah, it was
I've ever
so
seen,
pretty.
especially in person like that.
But the little details that the gentleman that gave that presentation, when we walked into it, we kind of like walked in probably like 10, 15 minutes already into it. But the presentation that he gave was very entertaining, very interesting. There was a lot of details that I would have just looked at it and taken it for granted, because growing up in the Catholic Church my whole life, I feel like I've just seen similar type things that I'm just like, oh yeah, that's I've seen that type of thing before, but never necessarily understood what the purpose behind it was or whatever. Because quite honestly, I'm sure they crammed as much as they could in Catholic school down our throats, but I don't think you retain everything. I mean, you only retain so much, but it was fascinating. It was beautiful, and the history was just incredible.
But you know what's cool when you go into something like that? I mean, there's so much detail throughout the whole entire thing, but every piece of this building had some type of significant meaning behind. I mean, every piece, and every piece had a story, to where whether it was custom made or it was burned in the fire that happened years ago. I forget the years, but I mean, just amazing. Just a really, really nice time.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was a cool stop. It was definitely a touristy thing that we did that I really
Savannah Cathedral. Let's try this again. SavannahCathedral.org looks like their personal website if you want to.
The pictures actually, they don't do it justice, but
no,
but
you can tell it's still a very.
It's very cool.
It's a beautiful
very,
building.
Very cool. I'm glad that we went. It was worth the hour drive from Hilton Head, but it was a cool thing. It was interesting. I think this makes me think about, two reasons. Being in Hilton Head, I think, was a good thing for me, because on whatever day we left, like August 26th or 25th, or whatever
day
was,
we actually left here.
On August 30th was the 1 year anniversary of my grandma's passing, and that was just a sad day.
Absolutely.
So, and then when we were at the cathedral, I actually was able to light the candles for both my grandma and my grandpa. But I kind of are you okay with me talking about that for a minute? Like the story behind everything?
Go right ahead.
So obviously just over a year ago, my grandma passed away, but if any of my family's listening, I'm not trying to upset you, and I'm sure I'm missing some of the details or whatever, because it still makes me sad, but more than anything, it makes me very angry, and I'm still angry about it because of the circumstances that not only led up to their death, but surrounded their death. I'll begin with the fact that they died within 40 days of one another. So my grandma died on August 30th, and then my grandpa died exactly 40 days later on October 10th.
And this will help you put some of that in perspective. First off, they were how old?
98 and 96, I believe. No.
And they had been married for
over 70 years. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So as tragic and as heartbreaking as that is for obviously the people that are
ridiculous
left behind.
In a good way, I meant that.
But I mean, what an amazing story. First off, that their lives were.
Oh, amazing
and
love story.
Yeah, but I think that's the big thing, is you kind of know why Grandpa went so close behind her. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Well, yeah.
not that it's a good thing or that you wish
No.
that. You know what I mean?
And
But
my family always said that if you knew my grandma, my grandma was one of a kind in the best way possible. But my family always said that if
she was ornery.
yeah, she
was ornery.
She liked being the center of attention, and I don't mean to make that sound like she was this like stuck up narcissistic
Not
type
at all,
person.
no.
She just liked being the center of attention.
Yeah.
She liked attention, and she liked being like the queen of the situation and whatever. And I mean, she was cute as all could be. Like the fact that you would get your hair done every single week, and she was still getting her nails done, you know, in her 90s. Like, how stinking cute is that? Like, I think that's adorable. But
Still got to be on point, right?
Listen, when I went to her funeral, I was like, my hair better be in, you know, tip top shape, and I better have lipstick on my face, because she's up there looking at me going, you didn't just
That's
show up
what
to
you
my
wore?
funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so my family always said that if my grandpa were to pass away first, that my grandma would be able to, obviously it would be devastating to her,
100%,
but she would be able to carry on and use the family to kind of get back up on her feet and just not move on with her life in any way, shape, or form, but just to be able to go on living a little bit.
I believe that, and I agree with that, because you have a very large family. But for the most part, everybody is very close, very tight-knit for such a large family.
It's very cool.
I don't have that. I have a very small family. But
Which I always take for granted. I'm sorry if you guys hear the dog
He's
is having
dreaming.
a dream in the background. It's always something with the animals, I swear.
every time.
But I always take that for granted when it comes to my family.
Yeah. Well, when you're a part of it and you're in it, it's hard to.
Yeah, I always think like
See
everyone has
outside
a
of it.
family like
Yeah.
this, don't they? Like they're all big Polish, big mouth people
Mm-hmm.
having family get-togethers where all the cousins are together and all the aunts and uncles get together and things like that.
So
It's
you want to talk
crazy.
about being an intimidating thing coming from the outside and coming
Oh,
from
they're
a
not
small.
intimidating.
No. Just that size of a family
Right.
and trying to get in. And I couldn't tell you how many times, for how long, where somebody would come up and go, "Hi, Marcus, how are you?" And I'm going, "I'm great. How are you?" And then I'm going, "Who the hell was that?" I know I've met him, and like you've introduced, and now I feel more comfortable. But for such a long time, it was like I had no idea who all of these people were, and
Right.
this was that kid and that aunt and that sister. I'm going, how am I ever gonna get it right?
Well, what did you say your first memory of Grandma and Grandpa were?
And we were obviously just talking about this when we were on vacation. I don't remember what the function was, but I feel like it was a larger function because I feel like there was aunts and uncles and, cousins and stuff there. But we walked in and they were sitting at the old kitchen style at your parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And they were sitting at the, I don't know what you call that, not the bar, but like the
Breakfast bar.
nook thing, whatever it was, taking shots. And I don't remember
Shots
what
of
it
Black Velvet or Crown Royal,
was.
whatever it was.
And I'm going, I can't even take shots. And they're over there just together having a good old time. Your mom's pouring them shots. And I'm going,
They lived a hell of a life.
oh, okay.
They lived a hell of a life.
I can get down with this family, yeah.
They
But
lived a hell of a life. And
not like they were not heavy drinkers.
Oh,
but,
no.
but if they were at a function, they had no problem.
But it wasn't it was just once in a while. Like they would just be
Absolutely.
like, Grandpa would be like, I want a shot. It'd just be like random. It'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, sure.
Okay,
You're
here you go.
90 years old. You can do whatever you want. But no, I mean, they had an incredible relationship, incredible family behind them, everything. But I think we knew with my grandma passing away first that my grandpa wouldn't be far along behind.
Yeah.
But the circumstances that were behind it, like I said, are what make me so angry. And so I was trying to like gather my thoughts about it and like put like all the pieces together because I think I get so angry about it sometimes that like everything kind of gets shuffled around in my head. But it all started with them moving from one of their facility. We always call it the facility, one of their nursing homes, assisted living homes that they were in. We were moving them. Not me, but my mom and her brothers and sisters had made the decision to move them from one home to the next. And you were there that day. Do you remember all that? When Grandpa went to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we hadn't been able to see them. The last time I saw my grandma and grandpa was January of 2020.
Which is obviously all due to
COVID. Because I would
not...
see them. They saw someone, not just me. I mean, I have a huge freaking family.
Yes.
They saw someone from my family like probably every single day, if not every other day,
right.
At the minimum. They saw someone, and they at least talked to someone every single day. They were never left alone. They were never put in a nursing home and just left like some of these people that, we deal with. They were loved, they were cared for, and they were 5 minutes away from our house.
And that's one thing I will give your family tons of credit for, because how many times do you see where, and not only just older folks, whether it's parents or aunts and uncles or, somebody with a disability or something like that gets put into, whether it's independent living, assisted living, whatever the case may be, and they're forgot about. Right. That was not the case with your family in that situation at all. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy, and that's why I keep telling you the closeness and the relationship that everybody had is, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah,
I mean, it's sad that that part of it's gone.
100%.
But we were moving them because they were having issues at the facility that they were at.
It was a move for the better.
But they broke them out of jail, as they like to say, and they went to my mom's house. And on moving day, it was, and while some of the brothers and sisters were moving them actually into the next facility, you and I had the opportunity to go over with some other people and be able to visit them, see them finally, after it had been so long. I mean, like I said, the last time I saw them was in January, and that's when I went over I had to curl grandma's hair for her.
Yeah, because the hair salons and everything.
I'm not a hairstylist.
No, but you want to talk about somebody that's picky about their hair.
Oh, she's picky. Was picky. She used to sleep on a towel. Talk about putting beauty over comfort. She used to sleep with a towel under her neck so that her hair would not get messed up.
And didn't you say, it was like she would sleep like a log, like wouldn't move, wouldn't roll, couldn't move.
You can't mess that up. It was perfect.
That's dedication.
You put a little pick in it and you'd pop it right back up and it was perfect, You don't mess that up. Beauty is a thing, man. You gotta
I live it every day. I know. Okay.
But she would rather sleep with a towel under her neck and not be comfortable and have her hair look good than anything else. So, hey, more power to her. But during the move, Grandpa was looking not very good. He just seemed really out of it. And it didn't seem like COVID stuff to me.
No, not at all.
He seemed really out of it, just very sick, just not good. And fortunately, one of my aunts is a nurse. And after a little bit of time, they called the squad for him. They took him to the hospital. And I'm sure any of you listening know how it goes when someone goes in the hospital, no matter what you go in for. Pretty much you're fucked, because you're going to end up being quarantined at some point just because you were in the hospital. And
especially during that time frame, because that was the peak.
But I'm just saying, no matter what he went in for, which he didn't go in for COVID, I think it was it was something else, whatever it was. But it was unrelated to COVID. But so here's the thing. Going back to their relationship, they did nothing without one another. They were glued to each other's hip. They were each other's better half. They went through a lot together. They raised their family together. They went through a lot together. They'd be lost without one another. And when I think it was a Monday, because we took off a random day of work, I remember. So my grandma had to go move into this new facility by herself. And so she had to go be in a brand new place. And when she was in this brand new place, because of COVID, she had to be quarantined for 2 weeks, the 14 days, where none of us, her family, my aunts and uncles, her children, could go visit
Nobody.
her to go, see her, comfort her, anything like that while my grandpa's in the hospital. So she's quarantined. So let's keep that in mind. My grandma goes to a new facility. She's quarantined for 14 days. Mind you, she has hearing aids. She doesn't like to put her hearing aids in. She has issues with her ears. She couldn't hear you half the time, but she'd hold a conversation
Smile
with
and
you.
nod.
Yep, she'd smile and nod. But it made it difficult to talk on the phone with her, so it was
Right.
easier to have in-person conversations, with her. It was just a lot easier than having a phone. So talking to her on the phone, it was difficult. And I just remember my mom telling me like how upset she was. Like she just was lost without my grandpa being there. And I mean, just imagine how you would feel like just being put in a brand new place. You don't know anyone, all by yourself. You can't have contact with anyone. And the only way you can contact anyone is through the phone. And you can barely hear anyone from and that's it. And the person that you love most in the world is in the hospital and you don't even understand what's going on with them. I mean, how terrible is that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So he goes to the hospital to figure out what's going on with him. Like I said, he doesn't have COVID. So they release him from the hospital. So he gets sent to the facility. And guess what? He gets quarantined. So he is not only quarantined in the facility from everyone else, but he also gets quarantined from my grandma. And so they can't see one another. And oh gosh, I don't remember what like the time frame was, but and I don't want to cry, so I don't want to like get too deep into it, but it wasn't that long, but from what I heard, and I don't know if this was just someone just like blowing smoke up my ass or whatever, but from what I understand, they were only a few rooms apart from each other, so only a few windows apart from one another. And my grandma passed away, and apparently the night before she passed away, she was just crying and just upset. Like she just wanted to see my grandpa. She just wanted to see him, talk to him. Nothing. They couldn't let her see him because of COVID. And she didn't have COVID. She didn't die of COVID. She died of a broken heart. You know, she died because she was completely heartbroken, devastated, because the person that she loved most in this world, she couldn't see. She couldn't be with him. She couldn't talk to him. It's not like they could talk on the phone. They can't hear one another on the phone.
Right.
And so it was heartbreaking. She died of a broken heart is what I believe. And then it just 40 days later, I mean, you saw him at the funeral. I mean, he didn't even know who I was.
Oh, no. I mean, I couldn't imagine spending so much time with someone and then all of a sudden it's just done. It's over.
Like,
everybody experiences that throughout life.
But you couldn't wheel them into like the hallway to see one another.
I get it.
Just to
100%.
They've been together for over 75 years. Over 75 years. Most people don't even live that long, and they've been married that long.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even wheel them into a hallway. You couldn't do something. They're windows apart from one another. And I know that I'm not in the medical field, and if someone's listening to this, they're probably like, you can't fucking do that. Like, whatever. But I'm thinking, like, if she is heartbroken. She's crying out for the person she loves. Like, to me, she died of a broken heart. Like, what's the worst that would have happened? Had you let her just see him, even if it was from a distance, just to be able to see him, and what could have happened from that? But gosh, seeing him at the funeral, it was like, obviously I didn't want him to live suffering and being miserable or whatever. But I mean, I know that my cousins also had like their own experiences being grandchildren, and how like they experienced my grandma's funeral and see my grandpa, and like how he really didn't recognize anyone. But I can only speak for myself. But like growing up 5 houses down from my grandparents, when we lived in another city close to where we're at now, I was at their house almost every single day. I mean, I got dropped off at the school bus at their house every day in grade school. and I saw them constantly. I mean, we had Sunday dinner together with them for years and years and years and years and years. I was very fortunate, to have that relationship and to have someone that practically raised me. Not that my parents didn't raise me, but raised the other half of me when my parents
being so involved
with my life, to not even know who you are. I mean, it was just like, oh God, this is horrible. Like, it was just horrible. But so we had the military funeral at the National Cemetery for her, and then 40 days later he passes, and they claim he died of COVID. I don't know if I believe that. They said he had COVID. I think he still died of a broken heart. That's my opinion.
Probably the
my family's listening. They can have their own opinions about it. I still think he died of a broken heart because
I'm sure that was a main contributor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter what else was going on.
You don't have a will to live.
You can't. No, you. Like I said, you can't spend. I mean, think about. Do you remember how old they were when they retired? Obviously, Grandpa probably later than Grandma or whatever. But I mean, you're talking if they're in mid to late 90s.
Right.
That's forever. Like, you're not going to work every day separating from each other. Like you said, they were literally
together.
2 Lego blocks stuck together for 30 years.
And they loved one another.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was very apparent. It's not, this is not just me like making up stories, like make them sound good. Like they loved one another. They were the best role models, for me to have grown up. But God, it still makes me mad. Like I told you, I don't want to sound like a crazy person, like saying this like on our podcast, and hopefully like people, some of us like somewhat know me, but I have to remind myself like once in a while, like they're actually gone. And I think it's not because I'm delusional. It's not because I think that they're going to come back or whatever it is, but I think it's hard because we've talked about with COVID, even at this point, I probably wouldn't have been able to see them a whole lot.
Well, and I think that's
if they were still alive at this point. Like I just
and I think closure is a huge thing. It's an important thing, but
Right.
Sometimes I feel like if you don't get that definite closure,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's hard to, I don't want to say hard to accept, but maybe a little hard to accept. You know what I mean? Certain people in your family were more involved with them than others. And that's
because of distance.
And that's what I was going to
that.
say. It's not because anybody chose not to be involved or treated them poorly. That is not the case at all. It was distance, 100%.
Being able to, get there quickly.
So I'm sure for some of the closer people who had maybe more interaction, there was a little more of that definite closure versus the people who maybe didn't get to this city or even this state on a regular basis to see them, or you know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, I don't know. I don't think there's ever an easy way to end that or accept it or have that closure. I don't.
Listen, I know I'm not the only person that went through this. Like I know a lot of people went through
100%.
stuff with COVID. I know a lot of people lost a lot of people when it came to COVID scenarios, not necessarily just losing people because of COVID, but scenarios due to COVID restrictions, whatever it is. I'm not looking for a sympathy, or what is it? Sympathy party just because pity party because of this. Like that's not what I'm looking for. I think me saying this about them, just hopefully like if someone else hears it, like they're not alone. Like they can, I feel like you can still be mad. Like it's not like I go around like punching walls or like I'm yelling at people, but maybe it's not mad isn't the right word. I'm frustrated with it, especially because I see, we deal with a lot of like the more elderly people and stuff. And I see how they're treated by their family members. And I know how my grandparents were treated by my family. And it's just like, they were so loved. I feel like we maybe would have gotten at least another year out of each of them.
Right.
Had the COVID restrictions not been there, just because I think the love and the care of all my family members that obviously are all very active in their life really are what kept them going. And now speaking of all the elderly people in general, from what we see at work and like of my grandparents, from like what my mom has said to me and like what I've heard from my aunts and uncles, when they first went, or I'm sorry, when COVID lockdown still or first went into effect, which was like right after I went and did her like hair,
Mhm.
like they shut everything down. Like you
Yeah.
could not go
Yeah.
to the nursing homes, whatever. I guess they both were extremely depressed. You know, again, you go from seeing people on a regular basis,
Well, and that was, yeah, I mean, that was
to nothing.
everybody.
And
And I don't say it to take away from them, but I mean, that was,
That's what I'm saying.
what an eerie.
So I'm saying so for them, like my family saw them slide into like a very deep depression because
Right.
they couldn't do all the things. Like, I'm not trying to make this sound like silly or whatever, but like even my grandma couldn't go get her hair done or her nails done. And that's not her being superficial, but that was her one day a week where she got out.
It was her
And
thing. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it got her out, and her hairstylist, which is a close family friend of ours, Sally, like that was her opportunity to get out, talk with other ladies, gossip, do all the feel good.
It's what old ladies do. Like,
But it just made her feel
yeah.
good,
No,
and it
absolutely.
was like her opportunity just to like get out and whatever. And so they slid into this depression, and I know that they weren't alone in this, because look at the people that we deal with at work, and my heart breaks. I think the hardest calls that we go on work anymore are DOAs and just dealing with calls for the elderly, because my heart just breaks, and I feel like I want to just like scoop them all up and just bring them home with us,
Right.
because I just want to like
Right.
love them like they're my own grandparents and just give them the love that
And I think
everyone deserves.
the big thing for us on our side responding to those type of things are, we don't know the history. We don't know if they have a good family and maybe they're just going through something, or if they have a horrible family and they have no support. No, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's that, again, kind of like that closure thing, or not having the details of what they're going through.
Right.
We don't have a definite ending to those situations we get involved in. And there are things that kind of stick with you. You know what I mean? Or you think about this person a little often, or the lady that wanted us to go get her sausage sandwiches.
She was so cute.
She was, I don't know, she was probably in her
What a doll.
80s
she
or
was.
90s. I mean, you know what I mean?
She loved you.
But
She was like, can I go get my sausage sandwiches from the
my
basement?
sweetest lady in the world. You know what I mean? And sometimes I wonder, like, is that why you call?
It might be.
Because you need a little bit. So that's why we always try and take that, and a lot
that
of us
extra
do.
time, yeah.
Yes.
Or the lady when we were heating up her soup, that like
Yes.
Panera soup,
Yes.
and she was like, I said, is it warm enough for you? And she's like, it's too cold. And so I
Put it back
heated
in the
up a little
microwave.
bit more for her, and then she was like, oh, it's too hot. And I was like, okay, well, just blow on
Yeah.
it. You just gotta like go down, like just stand there a little bit longer and take the
Rewarding
time.
things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of those things or those situations
Yeah.
are they're very rewarding.
But
I
I guess to wrap up, like the grandma and grandpa thing is like, I want to like memorialize them, and I really would like to get like my uncle on here as one, like someone that has like all the good. There's so many good stories, and I don't even want to begin to tell them because I will botch them. I mean, my some of my family members have some amazing stories about my grandma and grandpa that even when I heard them during like the day of like the funerals, like we would have like dinner with my mom and my dad. My
Yeah.
mom's telling me all these stories, and I'm like, what? Like that happened? Like, those are like incredible stories. and
Different times, different
funny,
yes,
heartwarming, hilarious, like just all sorts of stories. All
Not
their
to mention
military stories,
some of the sacrifices that were made.
sacrifices,
back
their
then.
childhood, like all the
Yes.
crazy things,
Yeah.
like growing up in the
Yep.
Great Depression and all that stuff. So I would love to get my family member, like one of my family members that has like all the details on here to
Mhm.
talk about it. I think it'd be really cool. But
That's a hint if any of you are
yeah, if any
listening
of you are listening, but I don't even want to begin to talk about it. But I guess to like wrap that up, my biggest regret when it comes to my grandma and grandpa is I feel like this is what gets me the most upset is I feel like prior to COVID, none of us knew this was coming, obviously.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it felt like it was out of the blue, you
Yeah.
know. I feel like we have our 2 days off. We have our 2 same days off. And there was a lot of those days when I was in school. I'm not coming up with excuses here. I'm just listing off things that like we had going on. Everyone has things going on in life, but I was in school, you know, at certain points. We had life things. Usually we don't get a lot done during our work week.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to cram everything that we can on our weekends, like getting things done, running errands, whatever. And there are a lot of times on our second day off that we try for the most part to like chill the fuck out for like just a minute
Right.
if we can, because we do a lot of like running around like crazy people every other day. And I feel like there was a lot of times that I would get, if like my mom would ask me to drive my grandma to like go get her hair done or whatever, like last minute because she got busy doing it or whatever it was, I feel like I would get upset and I would get angry because it'd be like, you're taking away from my time. Like you're taking away from like, like I just wanted to sit here for a minute or whatever. And I was being selfish at that, you know, moment, or being just selfish, I guess is
Right.
the best word to put it. And there is nothing I would do in this world to get those phone calls back,
Right.
to
But
drive her for those hair
but that's
appointments
always-
last minute.
That's always easier to say after something has happened, right? And that's everybody in the world.
I'm just
You
saying,
can always.
just take advantage.
I know, but you
of
can
what you
always. And that's what I'm saying, and I think a lot of people take those things for granted because sometimes I think you feel like you get to this point where it's not going to happen, or you know what I mean. It just becomes this norm, this constant, whether it's somebody in your life or your routine or whatever it is.
Well, she was always there. She wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
She's just,
But-
she's Marge. Like she's
And
always gonna be there.
It's easy to feel that way later on. You know.
Well, yeah,
but-
but I'm just saying, if you have grandparents that you are close with, or you're not close with, just keep them close and
And stay close with everybody, because tomorrow's not guaranteed
That's
for
true.
anybody
That's
in this
very
entire
true.
world. You
That's
you
very
look
true.
just look around you.
just don't live with regrets. And I feel
No
like
regrets.
after no regrets, I feel like after, I don't want to say that their passing is not a good thing, but
Right.
I've taken lessons from their passing and have tried to put some different perspective on life and not take as many things for granted and try to be more embracing of the more last minute inopportune moments that
Mhm.
don't really fit into my schedule, but
Right.
is helpful maybe to someone else, or you know, whatever it is. And suck it up, buttercup, you know, be less selfish. So
There you go.
that's the lesson of the day. But let's switch to a lighter topic, because I really wanted to talk about something else that has nothing to do with death and has nothing to do with dying. So let's switch over to cancel culture, which I know that sounds kind of like daunting or whatever, but
Dun.
let me begin with this. So I'm not throwing anyone under the bus here, but we had a loved one reach out to us, and this person simply sent us a text message expressing concern for not anything that we have said in our podcast, but for being what's the word I'm looking for? I guess cautious of things that we would maybe say in future podcasts, because this person is concerned for our future and saw an article of someone who had said something in a podcast years ago and just got fired from their job just recently.
Which is I mean, it's real nowadays.
It
You
is
know what I
real.
mean? But you also have to have something, I guess, behind that.
But this person, let's keep it like, they weren't trying to say that we've said anything.
No.
They were just trying to, hey, I just don't want to see anything happen to you. But in addition to that, it was kind of odd because you and I that morning, I believe it was, had seen an article about Joe Rogan and his prior guest, Megan Murphy, who talked about the transgender issue and
Right.
the gender issues and things like that, which we have previously now talked about. And they people came after them. Now, obviously, he has a much bigger platform. A lot more people are listening to him.
We're similar. We're close.
Right. Okay. But people were attacking them, both of them, for being transphobic, and I don't know if they call them bigots or whatever, but all the terms and whatever,
Right.
and trying to get him canceled and things like that. And so it was kind of ironic that this loved one had reached out to us that same day that we had seen this article. And so actually, it had made me nervous posting the episode on transgender issues, which was episode number 5 that we had. I was hesitant. I was scared, and I actually re-listened to it because I wanted to ensure that we weren't condescending. We weren't,
especially on a topic that maybe we're not involved in. Like, neither one of us are experienced. Well,
no.
and we said that throughout it, but neither one of us are also directly involved.
No.
All we're trying to do is just have conversations about things that are happening nowadays. And if anybody wants to chime in and be part of them at any point in time,
Absolutely.
please let us know.
My biggest thing with it is like,
if it's out there, we
things.
should be able to talk about it, right?
So first, let me go back to the transgender thing. And I just wanted to kind of get this off my chest, is that if anyone did listen to episode 5, I want them to understand that the whole purpose of me giving my background of like what I went through as a teenager into my adulthood, whatever, with an eating disorder, the whole purpose of that, obviously, first off, was not looking for sympathy in any kind of way. I don't want sympathy. I don't want anyone reaching out to me about what I went through. It's fine. Like, that's my thing. I do my own stuff for it. I'm good. The whole purpose of it was to give context so that there was an understanding to like, why did she get so deep into this issue? Like, I'm not some creep or some weirdo that just like randomly stumbled across this and was like, I'm going to like dive into these people's lives for no reason.
Right.
I found this subject that I really related to a lot of the, I don't want to call them underlying issues because I don't know if that's the right word to use, but a lot of the parallel issues like depression and anxiety and all the things like teenagers go through.
Right.
I also had those, and I really identified with that. Like, I understood where all this was coming from, and I also understood when, especially the Abigail Shrier book, which is what I always go back to because I think that's the book that really hooked me on this, which I've read multiple books since then and have more that I have on standby to read and whatever. But she specifically talks about girls in my age group. She specifically talks about girls that would have probably had eating disorders, but instead are changing genders, and just like how hard it is to be a girl and things like that. And again, this isn't me like saying like, oh, it's so hard to be a girl, like give girls sympathy or whatever, but it like the actual like fact of the matter, like there are certain things about being a female that I'm not even going to get into the politics of what's going on currently with that, but there are certain things about being a girl that there are a lot of really hard things. There's a lot of like judgment, a lot of things like that I'm not saying being a boy is easy. I don't know what it's like to be a boy, and I'm not saying growing up as a boy is easy. I know there's a lot of other things that boys have to go through when it comes to going through adolescence and getting to adulthood.
Similar situations, just different narratives, details,
right?
Whatever you want to call it.
So girls go through their own struggles,
right.
And I just really saw that similarity. So I don't want people to think like I'm just some like weirdo, like just diving into this, but I just really did like identify with this. Again, I'm not transphobic, and when I re-listened to the episode, I was like, I'm not anti-gay. I was like, I'm not homophobic. I'm like, that was the word I was looking for, but I'm not anti anything. I truly believe that anyone can be what they want to be. My issue does lie though in the indoctrination of our children and the pushing, especially in schools and things like that. It should
be a free choice that's made.
It should be a free choice, but we shouldn't be pushing education on people.
Yes.
We should be like, I think we kind of got it across in that episode. If that is what you were going to be, if you are not comfortable in the gender you're going to be, we are in 2021. We are very accepting of pretty much everyone nowadays. You know, we accept a lot of people into our world, and we have room for everyone in our world. We're not, you know, I mean, I don't really know how to elaborate on that,
Well,
but,
I think
we
it's
have room
hard
for everyone.
I think it's also hard to not talk about. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's not just that issue. I mean, it's when you look at it's social media, the mainstream media. It is so
But
easy.
why is it everywhere? That's my thing. Is why is it everywhere?
Because of those outlets. Is my opinion. Because, you know, things like there are so many things that have been going on for longer than any of us probably know.
Mm-hmm.
Any topic. It doesn't matter what it is. Nowadays, you can pick up your cell phone, which goes with you everywhere, and you can find out almost, not real time, but pretty frickin' close, let's be honest, almost in real time, what's happened across the world, across the nation. You know what I mean? You didn't have that access before. So I think these things have always been there. But I think the ease of access to those topics is easier now. So I think that's why it's everywhere.
But they are so contradictory of one another. And listen, I'm going to say this next statement, and I don't want to get like too deep into it because I don't want to get us down into like a really deep wormhole, but they're very contradictory of one another. Because when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, they talk about privilege, and they talk about white people having a lot of privilege and whatever other classes having a lot of privilege and things like that. Talk about being privileged when you have how many different gender identities that you can identify as and choose whatever one that you want and be whatever you want. And one day you can be this and one day you can be that, and you don't know what you're going to want to be, and you can be this and you can be that. When there are people, and just hear me out, and when there are people who don't know each day, and this is irregardless of their gender or whatever, but they don't know each day where they're going to get a meal from, where they're going to sleep from. There are, in the book that I'm reading, Pray by Ayaan Hirsi Ali, the Afghan women, and I know that's not America, but it should still be a concern of ours because we're concerned apparently in America with everyone else's shit around the world. Afghan women who are getting raped multiple times a day. No one's talking about that. But we're talking every single day about how many genders you can be and that you can change genders multiple times a day.
So why don't you think we are hearing about those issues?
Because this is the hot topic right now. And to me, it's social currency. And this is...
Not always, right?
But listen, that is social currency. True people who are transgender are not the ones that you're hearing right now. True transgender people. And I hate that I'm like phrasing it that way, but the people who suffered with gender dysphoria as children and grew up being uncomfortable with their bodies and experiencing just turmoil their entire lives, and at whatever point, you know, especially because back in the day you couldn't transition early like you can now at 14, 15,
right.
16, transition finally as an adult and finally feel more in themselves, which I don't know if I mentioned in the last episode, I can't remember, but a lot of them are finding that surgery is not the answer, but just being able to present as the opposite sex is makes them feel more like themselves, more fulfilled for who they are. Yeah. And I commend them for just be who you are, but you don't need to shove it in my face every single day. And they're not. And that's the problem to me, is that when I think people who are true to themselves and are truly experiencing something that is 100% them are not the ones that are shoving it in our faces every single day. It is the activists who are usually not even transgender people or whatever the situation is, right. Usually aren't even like that
they're using those people.
They're using them to create an issue. And so now you have people who are using the spectrum of gender and creating these different identities. And they're, quite frankly, if I was a transgender person, I would be pissed, because you're taking away from probably everything that I work so hard for, you know, how do I want to phrase this? Fly under the radar. I don't want the world to know that I changed. I want to just be who I want to be, you know, like I want to just, I don't, why does
the
it
change has nothing to
just
do
be who
with,
you are,
with it, right?
Be who the person you are, and I accept you,
right.
You know, like just be who you are. It obviously, you're telling me that's who you've always been on the inside. So technically it's not change. You're just presenting on the outside differently to me, right? You're not changing anything on your inside. You're just presenting who you are. But now everyone is a different gender. Like I was trying to make transgender conversation, like the gender spectrum conversation about, or a little bit funnier with the identifying as a tree, but that's not a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can identify as anything that you want to nowadays. And I truly think it takes away from trans rights. It most certainly takes away from gay rights. I mean, gays don't even exist. And I don't mean that concretely, they obviously do exist,
right.
But you're taking away from everything, to me, that they've worked so hard for, that a man, a male, a biological male and a biological male can marry one another, and a biological female and a biological female can marry one another. But now you're telling me that there's no such thing as a biological male and a biological female? So where does the gay rights thing even come into play now? You're completely taking away everything from everything they work for. And again, I have no stake in it.
Right.
I don't identify as, I'm not a gay female or a lesbian, and you're not a gay man, but I look at this from the outside looking in, and I'm like, you are completely just plowing over everything that people have worked so hard for, and they weren't shoving it in our faces for years. They were doing whatever they were doing and got things passed, doing what they had to do, and just wanted to be themselves and wanted to be accepted within the world as who they are. They don't want to be, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. Where nowadays, if you notice, I mean, I notice on my social media, you go on there and it's like, hey everyone, I just wanted to let you know I'm trying to make it a little bit lighter, but I've had an epiphany. For all my life, I've struggled with this, and I finally have decided that I am non-binary and I no longer identify as a female, and I am this and I am that and whatever. And it's like, okay, if that is true, why did you have to announce it? Okay. I to me, sure.
To everyone.
To everyone.
You could announce it to, like, obviously
your family,
close,
sure, yeah. I mean,
right.
The
or
whole
your
like
confidants or whatever it is.
coming out of the closet thing or whatever. Was that ever a thing? When, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and if we have anyone that is gay listening to us, like when you came out of the closet, like did you feel like you had to announce it on
it's
social media?
Business.
It's no one's fucking
or
business.
Concern. If you and I broke up tomorrow,
am I going to announce it on social media?
And we each got into another relationship.
It's no one's business.
It's nobody's.
Now, if you want to share something, like I had an eating disorder. Did I give you all the details? Hell no. Did I give you like the nitty gritty of everything? Fuck no. Like I gave you the very, very tip of the iceberg. You know nothing of everything that I went through, but it was enough to give you context as why I'm interested in a topic. Mm-hmm. Enough so that it doesn't seem like I'm a creep was my biggest thing. Was like, I don't want to seem like I'm a creep interested in something. But I don't owe anyone anything. I don't need to tell you my story. I don't need to give you anything.
Yeah.
Why do you feel it necessary to announce something to the world? If you want to tell me, sure. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't. I'm okay with someone telling me. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like right now, this gender spectrum thing is, especially with our age group, it is to me,
Is
it's
it our age group
it's our
or is it
age group and younger.
younger? So-
Like middle school, high school, and our age group, because there's a lot of people that I
Well,
don't
it's
want to
not
say
too- I mean,
I
I'm only
know
22,
acquaintances. So people that I see on social media that I follow. What I mean, I don't want to get too detailed, but whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen on social media that have now, quote unquote, come out with this different gender identity or whatever, and it's like, I knew you as a kid. You were this 100%, and you did not seem like you were struggling in that. And all of a sudden this changed. All like, where the hell did this come from? And obviously I don't, you don't keep up with everyone, and maybe things did change, and sure, maybe it is true to themselves or whatever, and I'm sure that is the case for a small fraction of people. But why? I don't even know what the percentage is, and I'm sure there's no ability for studies, like long-term studies, to even be out right now to know what the percentage of people who are identifying like on a spectrum right now, because those take a long time for a long-term study. But why is that percentage so incredibly, it's so much higher than what it used to be? And it's because right now you're teaching kids that you should choose what you want to be, and you don't need to be a boy or girl. And if I'm a little kid, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to be a unicorn, or I want to be a cat, or I want to be a dog, or I want to be a whatever, because I don't know. Like, if you didn't tell me that, my skin was white, I'd be like, my skin's purple as a kid,
Right.
like, you don't know. Or my skin's blue, or my skin's green. I don't, you're teaching kids and you're indoctrinating them with these ideas. And I think for the older generation, including us, like our age group and younger, it is social currency. Because if you think about it, if you're, especially during the COVID, you're not seeing a lot of people, you're not around a lot of people, and you're losing that connection with people. And the only connection you have is through social media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're losing that, I don't know, that
Face value,
that's
like
the relationships that you might have with other people. So what is the best way to get people to start interacting more with you on social media? Shock value. And what's the most shocking thing that you can do is change your gender. I mean, to me, that's probably the most shocking thing that you can do, is if someone has known you as identifying as one thing your entire life, and all of a sudden, especially older age groups who have no idea what the fuck you're even talking about, because they don't understand, or nor they never even heard about it. I mean, I'm sure now people are starting to get in touch with it, because it's starting to really like pick up speed and really be everywhere. But what's the best way to get more attention? I don't want to say it's attention seeking behavior, but it's a great way to seek more different social groups, more friends, connect with other like-minded people that have similar maybe thought processes or issues, whatever it might be. Maybe it is depression, anxiety, or similar things going along with that. Maybe this is a symptom of that. I'm no doctor, I'm no psychologist or whatever, but there's a reason all this is happening, and it's not acceptance to me. To me, this does not look like this is acceptance. This is 2021. We are very accepting in America, but all this isn't happening because we're now just so accepting. We've been pretty accepting for a while now, but all of a sudden, everyone's a different gender, and you don't even know. And if you say the wrong thing, you are shit on and you are canceled.
Well, I think that's kind of what's confusing. Like if I meet you for the first time and I guess wrong, is that like a negative strike on me, or is there like?
It depends on the person. It depends on the person. From my understanding, is that there are some people who are very forgiving and understanding that it's a difficult thing to. You're defying the English language, especially with the they, them pronouns. You're defying English language. Everything that we learned as children, calling someone they, them defies everything that we were taught.
Right.
So I think there are some people that are understanding of that. and are okay with that. And I'm sure there are some people that are non-binary or whatever, but like we discussed in that episode, I don't understand. To me, there are two genders, male and female. Why can't you just be a more masculine female or more feminine female or just middle ground female or a more feminine man, more masculine man, middle ground man? Like, why can't you just be on a spectrum of male and female and just be whoever the fuck you want to be on that spectrum? Why do we have to start creating all these different identities that no one even knows what they are? Like, what's a two-spirit? I don't know.
Well,
what
and
a
I think
two-spirit is.
sometimes that's where the issues lie, and then you bring cancel culture into that. Well, you did this wrong, even
now
if you
you're
have no
canceled.
understanding to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the issue too for me is like the gender spectrum stuff to me has nothing to do with transgender. To me, that's two completely different things.
Right.
Transgender, to me, is working on a binary. If you're transgender, you believe there is male and there is female, because clearly in your head,
You're switching
you're
to the
switching
opposite, or
I
transitioning.
mean, you've
to the
always
opposite.
been in your head. You've always been, but you
Right.
understand what, like, you
Yes,
understand what I mean.
yes.
Like you're, there's two, so your body might appear as one and you're trying to present as another because internally you are that other gender. That is what you feel. That is the turmoil you go through. And that is who you are truly on your inside. So they operate on a binary as transgender. When it comes to the gender spectrum, there's no fucking thing or such thing as a binary. It is, except unless you're non-binary. That's the only binary that they have in there. And it's this, they have over 100 genders. So again, talk about whitewashing and taking away from, like I talked about, the gay rights and the transgender rights, this gender spectrum stuff. You have nothing even to do with the transgender the gender spectrum has nothing to do with the transgender issue. So but it all gets lumped together, and the transgender activists use the gender spectrum and use all that, and the indoctrination of the kids and the school, and it is so complicated and mind-blowing and insane that I think that's why I continue to keep reading about it, because I'm like, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it, because
Right.
it is incredible, the things, especially that they're teaching children. And again, I go back to, if you are transgender, okay, you do you. Like you do what you have to do to be happy, because at the end of the day, you only have one life to live. And I don't want that to sound like a cliche. We only have
but
one
it
life
should be
to live.
all about you.
You should
not
live the
everyone
life
else.
that you want to live. Exactly. It should be the life that you want to live. Who gives a fuck how many likes you get on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever else? So why is releasing your announcement of what gender and all that, why should that even matter? It should matter about what's on the inside. You know, like when going back to my issues, when I decided to finally put my head on right and get my own, get better treatment for myself that I wanted, and get myself better on my own terms, did I announce it to the world? Did I tell anyone? Fuck no. I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want anyone to know I had an issue. So I was like, I'm going to do this shit on my own, and do it for myself, because it's for me.
What do you think? What if we had no social media?
Oh, it would be an amazing world. It would be an amazing world. It really would. It would be so much better. It would force people to have to interact with one another.
Well, outside of that issue in itself, I mean, you look at, there have been teen and juvenile suicides because of social media issues. There have been other self-image issues. I have to wear these clothes. I have to be this person. I have to get so many likes. You know what I mean? So,
well, look at going to that, to that point, look at in regard to eating disorders, and I can only speak to this because of my own personal experience, but and again, eating disorders are not about the food. That's my disclaimer. But you look at photos on social media, these girls,
Right.
and I'm using girls as an example because I'm a girl, identify as a girl, I'm a girl. They will use it's not Facetune. They have like BodyTune and like all the Photoshop,
whatever.
like all the different apps.
Is what it is.
They are changing their bodies. Like you can add 6-packs to yourself. You can change the shape of your waist and the size of your hips and the size of your thighs and give yourself a thigh gap, because sometimes the thigh gap is in and sometimes the thigh gap is not in. And then sometimes you need the thigh brow, which is the fold of skin that is like between your hip bone and it's like on the top portion of your thigh, and you want the thigh. You're looking at me like a crazy person.
I've never heard any of this shit.
Listen,
So
talk about a girl or being hard to be a girl.
right.
There's so many things out there, and even me at 30 years old, knowing all the shit that I know, having a therapist in my ear telling me all the things that she tells me, I still have to sit and look at pictures, and I unfollow. Like I don't.
Right.
I choose not to follow these types of things, but sometimes you forget about an account that you follow and you stumble across one, and I have to sit there and I have to remind myself, she is Photoshopped. She is not real. That is not a standard that I can even aspire to, because I can't look like her. It is not physically possible to look like her because that's not her. And to me, like I could understand like the devastating nature it could have on me if I wasn't in the right headspace. You know, the things that could happen for me. Could you imagine a 12-year-old with an Instagram who has no idea of the capabilities of people and what they can do, and aspiring to look like some of these women that are on there?
So that's a good point. What is a good age, in your opinion, to allow children to get involved into like the social media world? Because it is, not only do you have to worry about things like that, you have to worry about bullying and pedophiles and thieves and you know what I mean, you name it. It is such an like this out of control realm that you know what I mean, you can do anything on social media and the internet. Where do you think social media, I'm not talking about cell phones and stuff because that's kind of a different topic in itself, but the social media aspect, what age do you think is appropriate for children? And this is just our opinion. It's not.
I don't know. That's a tough question because, you know, my thoughts on like the sex trafficking stuff, and I really want to do an episode on that. So if anyone is interested in the sex trafficking stuff, either reach out and like let us know that you'd be interested in an episode, because I'd really like to do a whole thing, like just discussing it, going back and forth.
Which is again is a whole nother world in itself. But
just because of some of the knowledge that I have on that, I am no expert in it, but some of the knowledge I have on that, and just the capabilities of some of these traffickers and the pimps and the people that are involved in that, like even boys, but for girls on social media, you know, even at the ages of 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, like you think 17, they're in high school, 16, they're in high school, 15, they're in high school. You think like, oh, they're in high school, they can have social media or whatever. But
yeah, but do you remember how trying high school is in itself, in general?
Whew.
Not just from and we've discussed this before, like you're trying to figure out who you are yourself.
Right.
And then you add these other influences. So do you think the whole thing with getting introduced to social media varies between males and females? Is it a maturity level? Is it a mental?
I think as a parent, you would have to know your child. But here's the problem is that kids are freaking crafty, and if there's a will, there's a way. And I think that if you prevent them from having one, they're going to find a way. And so part of me wants to say that don't let your kid have a Facebook account, and no one really uses Facebook anymore, but Instagram or Twitter or whatever the kids use nowadays.
Right.
Don't let them have one at a young age, like 12 or 13. But I mean, I guess I look at like my parents. My parents gave me a lot of freedom when I was a kid, and I feel like I tested their freedom. And if they're listening to this, they're going like, they're shaking their head going, oh yes, you did. But I hear me out. they gave me a lot of freedom. And I think the way that I tested them, I never did anything that was so horrible. And I think the
No.
reason being is that because they gave me enough freedom, I pushed my boundaries, but I never pushed them so much that I was getting myself into trouble or doing anything terrible. And so I think with kids, if you're not preventing them from something and keeping something away from them, because if you're keeping it from them, they're going, well, what's so good about this thing and why can't I have
But
it?
what's your line?
What?
What's your line in the sand then? I'm
I mean,
not
there's
asking you for a
controls, there's
definite answer.
parental control, like things that you can have on it. But I mean, I think it goes back to we've discussed when it goes back to like what age can a kid have a cell phone? I don't think kids should have smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that saying that they can't use?
Or you can
their
have something that
friends'
looks like a
smartphones?
smartphone, but you're
Sure,
not
but
going
it's
to
not gonna
have
have access
that
to anything.
100%.
No, I don't think kids need smartphones. I don't think they need that. Let them be kids. I think that's the problem. Is like, I had a flip phone when I was 13 when I went into high school, and I was super excited about the T9 texting, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I was all boss at T9 texting, but that was
Try and do it nowadays.
it's terrible.
Impossible.
But I had my cell phone. I had rules around my cell phone.
Right.
I usually went over on my minutes, usually went over on my texts, but it was, call when you need a ride home from school or whatever it was, from sports, things like that. But I didn't live my life with my face buried in my phone on social media, checking how many likes I have, how many this, how many that.
That is such a horrible thing
Yeah.
that as a society, everyone has adapted. How many times have we been out to dinner? It doesn't have to be a nice fancy dinner. It could be, or it's not. But you look around and you see other couples or other families sitting there and everybody's on a
their phone.
device.
We put our phones down.
We've tried to make it a point, not that we're better than anyone.
We
'Cause
look
who
like,
knows?
if we're having a conversation, like we Google something, like we'll look it up. Like,
Absolutely.
we got to fact check while we're having a conversation.
Right. But, or even like going and spending time with families and things like that.
I leave my phone in my purse. Like, what do I need it for?
We're not so involved in it that we can't get out of it and spend time and have that face-to-face conversation or that.
Look, we're not so involved
that's
that I
huge.
forgot to, and I'm not making excuses, but like I forgot to upload our episode number 5. Like, that was stupid on my part, but like I'm not that involved in my phone. I don't keep my phone on me all the time. I'm not paying attention to everything.
It's a great convenience.
And I happened to look at I was like, oh shit, it's Monday. We usually post Sunday nights so that
Well,
they get it on Monday morning.
We couldn't even check out on time, but that's
That's another story. But I don't know. I just think it's a tough question. I really feel for parents out there who have to make that decision about letting their kids have social media. I think it's you kind of have to let them.
Just let them see how. So then, do you have
I want passwords,
access?
but here's the thing: they can make another one, and
You're not gonna know.
And from the sex trafficking classes I've gone to and things like that, the girls that are getting trafficked, like they're not getting trafficked from the one, and we're going to do a sex trafficking episode. I don't give a shit if you guys want to hear it or not. I'm going to talk about it. You're going to listen to it. You're going to like it. But these girls are not getting trafficked from the profiles that people know about. They're getting trafficked from profiles that they're hiding from people, like from their parents or whatever. Because it's just a whole thing. I don't want to get to it, but I mean, kids are gonna find a way. We had that call right before we went on vacation, or no, you weren't there. I had a call right when I was at work.
I took the day off.
Yeah, you took the day off. We had a call right before we went on vacation, and it was like a runaway call or whatever. Come to find out, like the kid was with a friend or something like that, something like along those lines. And we weren't able to like ping the phone or anything because mom said the kid didn't have a phone. Come to find out, the kid had a phone. How did the kid have a phone? Because the girl, her boyfriend's mom gave her a phone. So, I mean,
That's crazy.
So, I mean, kids are going to get phones.
You'll find
they're
a
going
way.
to have access. They're going to do whatever. If prisoners can have Facebooks and go on the internet and do all the things that they want to do, kids are going to be able to have access and do whatever they want to do. Like, they're going to find a way, And I think it's tough. I mean, I really feel for parents that have to go through it because, we see the back end of things and the consequences of not the children's, I don't mean to say like the consequences of the children's actions, but the consequences of the capability of social media and like the scope of the problem. Like social media is a great thing, but it's also a problem.
Mhm.
It's a terrible
It really
problem. It really enables a lot of bad things to happen.
Well, and you can put anything you want to on
Anything.
there. Anything.
Yeah. But going back to the cancel culture thing, you can't nowadays, and you have to be very wary of like the things that you post and the things that you say. So I don't want to like go like heavy into it, but we had a disagreement on like something that I had shared on my Facebook that I had ended up deleting because you were concerned about the way that it might come across. And I don't want to go into like detail of like
Right.
what the post was or whatever, but we had a disagreement. I didn't feel like there was anything wrong to it. You didn't say that there was anything wrong to it, but you felt as though it might, I don't know what, I mean, do you want to speak to that? Like the way you felt it might come across?
I think
it's a good example.
I'm a very private, reserved person.
No.
I will face value all day. You know what I mean? Like I'll let you know how I feel about you, but I don't need to
You don't post it. Yeah.
I don't post shit on social media. Nothing.
Well, I just share a lot of
and
things.
it's not because I don't know. That's just not me. It's not my style. If I have something I want to discuss, I'll discuss it. If I have an issue, I'll have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? You don't. So I think that's where some of my hesitation comes in, because I just don't. We have our opinions. We have our opinions about anything and everything.
I have a lot of strong opinions.
I don't post it because if somebody doesn't agree with you, then you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy. If I don't agree with everything you say, and this isn't everybody, obviously, right?
My throat's talking. If anyone heard that, I'm sorry. That was really weird.
And I feel like that's bullshit. You know what I mean? So that's why I just sit back. I'll have verbal communication all day long, but I just choose not to post really anything because it doesn't matter. Because you know what? At the end of the day, if you don't care how I feel or what I want to say, then I don't care what you have to say. You know what I mean? So posting it on these social media platforms has no bearing on anything, in my opinion. Now, at the same time, there are things that I am very passionate about or have a strong opinion on. Yeah, some things I look and I'm like, oh, that would be good to post. But why? Because we live in a day and age where, again, it doesn't matter. You could post factual stuff. You can post fake stuff. I could get on there right now and post whatever heinous bullshit I wanted to. Some people are going to go, yep, absolutely. And other people are going to go, you're crazy.
Right.
You're a horrible person. So it has no bearing on me. So I don't care what you think about it. I don't care how you feel. It doesn't matter. And that's been proven with so many things nowadays that it just doesn't matter. It's not about you. Nobody cares about you. Again, I'll have conversation with you all day long about anything. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it. I'm not going to get, pissed off and punch you in the face. You know what I mean? But we can have conversation and disagree all day long. But posting on those platforms, to me, I guess you're kind of stooping to that level. And that's not a knock on anybody that posts things. Post whatever you want to. Sometimes I like things. Sometimes I scroll past something and I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with that. That's stupid. So I just keep going. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But not everybody can do that. There has to be this confrontation, or it has to be this way, or it has to be my way, or it has to be my thought, my opinion. So I just kind of remove myself from that.
So that's my issue with cancel culture, though, is like, I never, and this goes back to the loved one. They know who they are if they're listening. that reached out to us that got me thinking about this. Again, this is not a knock on them. I'm glad that they said something. It makes me know that they care about us
Right.
and whatever.
100%.
But it got me thinking. I never thought that we would be in a world where we live in a country where we have freedom of speech.
You're supposed to.
We have.
You're supposed to.
We have
You're
freedom.
supposed to.
We have freedom of speech.
You're supposed to.
However, we have freedom of speech. You're not violating the Constitution. But you can be canceled from every aspect and just blocked from every part of the world because everything is on the internet now.
Because I don't like what you had to say.
Because I don't like what you have to say. And here's my biggest thing is that how do I want to say this? I don't think that everyone has to have conversations and agree with one another. You and I don't agree with everything that we say. I think that would be annoying if we agreed with everything. I mean, you have to agree with everything that I say, but I don't have to agree with everything that you say. So
I just smile and nod, and in the background I'm going,
yeah,
you're crazy. No way, you're crazy.
Yeah, but I don't understand why today in this world, why do we feel it necessary that everyone has to agree with everything that we say? Because to me, a very enlightening conversation. Like shocker, everyone. I like to talk. I love to talk. But a good conversation to
my
me.
My mic's on mute half the time because I just give up and just push the red button. Like, fuck it.
A good. Why do you think I pay for an hour of therapy every week?
It's not enough.
I pay for you to listen to me.
No, I get what you're saying, but
I learn.
Well, and I think that's the big thing is, look, even if I don't, and somebody said it might have been my all-time fave, Joe Rogan or something, but I don't have to agree with you, but then teach me.
Correct.
Teach me. And again, even if we end this conversation.
Agree to disagree.
Yes, and we don't, that happens, I mean, all day, every day.
Not in this house, but everywhere else, yeah.
No, it's one side. We were going to actually do video chat, but I don't want you guys to see my black eyes because when I
oh my God.
don't agree. No, I kid. But we don't have to agree on everything. You and I don't.
Right.
Me and your parents don't. Me and my parents don't. Brothers, sisters, friends.
My mom's listening going, the fuck you don't. You have to listen to everything.
It doesn't matter. I think that's what's frustrating is we're all very lucky in this country to be where we are and have what we have. Some more fortunate than others, obviously. Right. But we're gonna hold what you say and either use it against you or use it for my personal gain.
5 years from now. 5 years from now. 10 years from now.
It blows my mind. If I don't say anything that's offensive, I don't call you names. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Right.
I can say, hell, don't judge me. I like Mick Ultras. You say, I don't. You shouldn't like those. You're an asshole for saying that.
Right.
What are the grounds of that?
Right.
Again, as long as nothing's done maliciously, you should be able to have your opinion.
Well, and that's my thing about the transgender stuff. I don't feel that I am being malicious about it. I feel that there are certain things I'm being factual about, and I think that there is a lot of issues with the situation. I really do feel for the gay and lesbian community and the transgender community who have fought extensively for their rights, which are being completely just walked over right now.
You don't hear about it.
You don't hear about it.
You haven't heard about it. You won't hear about it.
Because everyone's too busy identifying as a tree or a two-spirit.
Well, and again.
Or whatever.
But again, if that's what you want to do and that's your choice.
Right, but don't shove it in my face.
No,
and don't get upset
that.
because someone doesn't understand it or that they don't want to talk about it all day, every day, or they don't want it to be their number one topic on their list or whatever it is. Or if someone wants to still believe, as I do, that there are still only two biological sexes, male and female, and that there's no spectrum of those sexes.
But do you know
and
how
that there's
many
male,
times that I've talked to, whether it's family members, coworkers, friends in general, about anything and everything, whether it's politics, religion, the list, it's inevitable that you're going to have some type of disagreement. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It
No.
shouldn't take away from the topic at hand. And neither opinion should be forced. That's why we have some of the things that we have implemented in this country. Stick to it. And again, nothing should be done with hate
No.
or you know what I mean?
And it shouldn't be held against you. I think that's
No.
the biggest issue with the cancel culture shit that I hate, is that anything you say now can be held against
Yes.
you.
Now look, if you get on and you make some statements or actions or something that are
inciting
heinous
people
or-
to go spread hatred or hurt
hateful,
people or do
100%
whatever.
something
I
needs to
get that,
happen. And I don't
yeah.
care what your role is.
Right.
But at the same time, you should be able to come on and just have a
Spread knowledge,
conversa-
spread
Yes.
whatever.
Or learn me. You learn me
shouldn't even
this,
say-
I learn you that.
I shouldn't even say spread facts. Spread knowledge is spread insight. Spread your opinion on a matter.
Two sides to every story.
Correct. Always two sides. So if someone, I doubt anyone that identifies on the spectrum is either still listening to us or listening to this podcast. I doubt it. But
Hey, if you are, reach
if
out.
someone
You
is,
can reach out
please
privately.
listen.
We don't,
but yeah, please reach out, because I would love to have a conversation with you, and I'd love to hear your opinion on things, because correct me if I'm wrong on things. I mean, and I guess that's my biggest thing, is that I think both sides of any issue are so afraid to converse with anything anymore. Like, you just have your stance and I have my stance, and we're not allowed to talk about it anymore because we can't, have a conversation about it
Right.
with anything.
But if we all become united in a sense of, look, I don't have to agree, but I don't hate you.
That's the thing.
There's nothing wrong with you. Do your thing. I don't care if you say I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm pink, I'm purple, I'm a tree, it
Right.
doesn't
I don't.
it
I
doesn't
don't
matter. It doesn't
dislike
matter.
you. I don't whatever.
No.
I want to understand it, and I don't want our children, not our children. I don't want our children in this country and around the world to be growing up believing in something that I want them to have the childhood we had, and maybe have a little bit better of a childhood if you want to consider having a little bit more knowledge and education and more accepting of different things that maybe you and I weren't
Being a
aware
little more
of.
diverse
Correct.
as far
That's
as
sure,
yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Having that, great. I'm not saying it needs to be exactly the way it was when we were kids or exactly the way it was when my parents were kids, because our childhood was different than when our parents were kids, and the same for when my grandparents were kids. I mean, my grandpa always said, I used to walk up a hill or walk to school up a hill, down a hill with a piece of cardboard covering my shoe every single day. And I walked to school with like freaking Ugg boots on, like a, typical kid, whatever. So
Well, and I guess that's the other big thing. You should always want better
for your children,
for the next generation, even if they're not your kids directly. But
for the next generation.
let's grow.
Yeah.
Let's build. And I feel like we've gotten so far away from all of that we're killing each other. Literally,
it's
metaphorically,
crazy.
we are destroying so many important things. Just want to see us get back on track. Can we
it's
just
just crazy.
get back?
And I really try to I think what's really been hard for me is that I've been reading a lot of social justice issue books lately, which always gets me on my rants or whatever. I feel like I read a paragraph and I'm like, oh my God, listen to this, and I can't read a whole book without stopping every 2 seconds. But going back to that book, Pray, Prey, not Pray, Prey by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I'm not even finished with it yet, and I just wish I had a little bit more time. I was going to try and sit down and read more today. I just ran out of time.
Well, we were going to do it our last day of vacation, but
yeah, but we had to leave. I was going to finish it the
Guess
last
what?
day, but
You gotta go.
we had to go. But just from what I read, I'm about 2/3 of the way through this book. I was actually just talking about it with my mom today, and I know that over in Afghanistan, and the woman that wrote the book, the author, she's an immigrant from Afghanistan, and she immigrated to Europe, and then she came over to America. So she has a very good stance and ability to write the book and the things that are saying there. But I guess when I read it, obviously I have no stake in that. I have no part in that culture, anything like that.
A different
Talk
world.
about a fucked up world.
Yeah.
And I sit here and I read it and I think about all the things, and I'm not trying to downplay the things that people go through on a daily basis, but all the things that people bitch about on a daily basis that are so minute. And we do too. We bitch about stupid small things, but I really try to take those things in perspective. And I think about how awful it is. I'm not kidding you. These women cannot walk outside of their homes without being completely covered in a full burqa and not being escorted by a male family member and not having the fear of being raped. I mean, brutally raped or harassed.
So it's
is
perspective.
it is
like people
horrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
People don't like. I know I've picked up my phone before and gone to type something into Google, and if it takes more than
You're bitching.
a millisecond, I'm pissed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've all done it from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Right. But like I said earlier, no one's talking about those issues.
No. Well, and I think a lot of it's lack of knowledge.
And I don't want to talk too much about the book until I finish it because
No,
I don't know how she wraps it up.
But I do. I think a lot of it's that lack of knowledge. The like we're kind of spoiled here.
We're really spoiled.
We really are. If and again, look, obviously a lot of people have it worse than others, better than others.
Absolutely.
But when you put everything into perspective of what we have and what we do here on a regular basis compared to those other people's, other countries, mind-blowing.
You know who's fucked up? North Korea. You know who's super... I just remembered that I read so many books on vacation. North Korea. That Yeonmi Park In Order to Live book that I read on the beach, that
Yes.
at least every 2 pages, I was like, oh my God, listen to this. That she escaped. She was on Rogan. Surprise, surprise. I read a book from Rogan. But she escaped from North Korea, and it was her whole story and everything that she did in order to live. Pretty crafty story. Crazy stuff. Great book.
And people think they want certain things. Go over there for a
Go
month.
over there for a day. Oh my God. And if you... Okay, I'm not going to say this next statement. I'll say it for another day. But I read, prior to reading this book, the book Animal Farm by George Orwell, which I also read 1984 by George Orwell. If you have not read those 2 books, which I'm sure some of you are probably like, yeah, I had to read those fucking books in high school. Well, you know what? Either I was assigned them and didn't read them, or I never had to read them. I don't remember, but I just finally read them. And they are mind-blowing. And people, I advise you to read them. And our world is slowly going that way. So don't be the pig, okay? Don't be the pig.
Why don't you just write a book?
Me?
Yes.
Hell
Get
no.
all this out.
I have so much to say.
Word vomit.
I have so much to say. There's so much.
People be going through like, we were just on this topic and now we're on that topic and I don't know what
I
topic
know.
we're on now.
I just have so much to say. I like to talk. I don't know. But cancel. I guess I'm wrapping up because I know you're looking at me like, I want to go eat pizza. What are we having for dinner tonight? Do you remember? What are you doing? What we're having?
Pizza.
Pizza.
No.
It's healthy
We're
pizza.
not having pizza. We're having homemade pizza.
I feel like every episode now that we're talking about what we're having, though, is pizza, but we don't just eat pizza.
We're going to have to stop doing this whole thing before dinner because
I know we're going to have to like eat and then record.
I'm getting hungry.
But to wrap up cancel culture, I'm scared because, not that we have some huge platform, but it does scare me because anything that you can say will be held against you.
Yeah, look, and if you
It's the opposite of Miranda.
You have a couple of options. If you don't like what we have to say,
I thought that was pretty funny.
Just breezing over it before we get down another. Yeah. So change it. turn us off or reach out to us.
Well, that's the
and
thing is
express
like
your
you don't
concern.
if you don't like
we
it,
won't
turn it
put
off.
you on blast. We won't say a word about it. We will just simply move on from it. Again,
If you'd like to have a conversation, though, I would love to have
we're
a
not
conversation.
experts in anything.
Hell no.
We're just
But I have read
we're
a
just
book once
communicating.
on every subject matter. There's a lot of books. I should take a
Yes.
picture of the bookshelves.
we're gonna need a bigger bookshelf.
It's been anchored to the wall. There's so many books on it.
Well, it's just safety concern in case, you know.
But yeah, I've read a lot of books. I like a lot of books. We have a lot of cool books on the. We gotta talk about the one book you're reading later, so we'll talk about that another day. But
We'll tie that in with
some other stuff.
our
We got-
special episode
we
that'll
got
be
some
coming.
stuff coming on. Well, that'll be before this episode, but
Oh, shh.
don't talk about
So
it.
we used to never edit, but now we're gonna edit that out.
No, we're not. I'm not editing anything. This is raw and real, people. Raw and real.
Let's go challenge some pizza.
You want to go challenge some pizza?
Yeah.
Well, everyone, if you listen to this, I really appreciate it. I actually forgot at the beginning of this, we were supposed to do our call to action. Do you know what a call to action is?
What the heck? No,
It's
we
like
never even discussed this.
subscribe, follow, share.
Oh, at the beginning we're doing.
Oh yeah,
it.
we're supposed to do that. Because apparently, if we don't do it at the beginning, most
Nobody's
people don't listen
listening
to the
our
end.
shit. Yeah.
So, like, if you don't do it at the beginning, no one does it.
All right,
So, and apparently,
Spoiler alert. Next time we're gonna start with.
episode number 4 did really, really well. So I don't know what we did in episode 4, but we did really good. So if you know what we did in episode 4 that you like, can you let us know? Because it's done really, really, really well. And I don't understand why. I ranted a lot. Do you like my rants? I don't know. I feel like no, but
Well,
but yeah, so
I like your rants.
that's such a lie. You just want me to cook you dinner.
Yeah, let's
But,
go eat. They got old after a while, but let's go.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. And like I keep trying to say, just be kind to everyone, love everyone. Marcus is giving me a look because he's about to eat his microphone right now. He's so hungry. Stop. And I guess we'll talk next time.
Thanks for stopping back.
Oh jeez. I
See
guess
ya.
see us or sing us a song.
No, you got it at the intro. You're not getting it again.
Okay, whatever. Bye.
Later.